Welcome everybody. My name is Michael from Studio ARS. So let's just get started. So what is Urbano Visio? Well, it's smart productivity tools for pipe network design with AutoCAD Civil 3D 2015-2018. They help you with tasks like data editing and analysis, plan profile editing, and with some calculations. So for today's agenda, we'll be going into some of the tools. For data analysis editing, invert structure editing, trench volume calculation, then plan profile editing, and in the end, applying pipe and structure rules. Okay, and so why is this interesting to you? Why should you care? Okay, so the data analysis tools give you a set of advantages. So first of all, they give you an interface where all data is in one place. So properties, pipe and structure properties, part list data, custom part list data, expression data, object data, property set data, everything is in one place. Also, everything is connected. When you click on a certain number, on a certain name, or any other kind of data in this table, you will see an indication in the drawing immediately, so you know exactly what structure, what pipe you are talking about. Also, we use custom configurations which you can make, and I will explain it to you. You can use selections and filters for selecting and finding data. And also, you can copy any Civil 3D data about pipes to the new property set data which were introduced in version 2017, update 1. And expanded in the version 2018 of Civil 3D. And the interesting thing about property set data is that they travel, so to speak, with the IFC file. So when you make an export to IFC, this data can travel with the geometry. Okay, structure editing. A few things, I will be showing all of this, so you can draw directly in profile views. Sometimes this is quite handy. You can set a uniform slope along a pipe run. You can set a uniform structure drop along a pipe run. And you can add, move, and delete structures directly in profile views. Regarding the trench volumes, so it's a very simple trench volume calculation. So, and you can make, of course, your own custom configurations. Once you calculate, the report goes to Excel, and it also goes to property set data, which can be used in labels, for example. Interactive editing, which I'll be showing. So it's direct editing of pipes and structures in the plan and profile views. And also, this tool can be used actually as a rich tooltip of sorts. So I will be showing all of this. And in the end, we will finish with a very simple solution, so applying pipe and structure rules. So if you ever run into a situation where your rules are not correct, you know that you can spend a lot of time correcting these rules. So the whole purpose of this tool is to save time and increase precision when you are doing this. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into the tool. So as you can see, it installs right into your Civil 3D. You get an additional ribbon with all of the tools. You know, you also help and licensing manager and so on. So the first thing which I'll be showing is this tool to analyze and edit data. And if some of you were on a previous webcast, all our previous webcasts were all about this tool, and everything to the right, so to speak, is a new development of this new version 2.0. Okay. So the first thing we have here is, in this example, is we have two pipe networks, so sanitary and storm. And if you look at this table, which is this Urbano Visio analysis tool, we also have both networks. The interesting thing is that you can actually show information from both networks if you choose so. And also, if you have a lot of networks, you can also, you know, turn on, turn off everything quite fast. Okay. The second thing. So you see all of the different information is here in this table, but actually, as you can see, it's not all of the information that Civil 3D offers. It's just a part. So the philosophy of this tool is that you can create your own custom configurations. And you can have as many as you want. So for example, I have one just with properties, then I have created another one with geometry data, and you can have it hydraulics data, and you can of course have the same for structures like properties, geometry, and so on. And it's very simple to create your own configuration, data configuration. You just give a name, and you start selecting the Civil 3D data that you want to have in this configuration. So for example, start invert and inverts. Then we can have, for example, length. For example, inner diameter, and slope. Okay, so it's not big. It's quite simple. And the thing you can do is you can also change the display names. So for example, you can write a different name. You can also use this setup screen to multiply or divide, for example, values on the fly. So in this case, I want all of my Civil 3D values to be multiplied by 1000. So Civil 3D will still save them and remember them in their original state. It's just the presentation is different. Okay, and you can of course play with this. And for example, for slope, I don't want it in Civil 3D stores it in promiles. I want it in percentages. So I just multiply it with 100. And as soon as I press OK, you see this new configuration is added to the list, and there you have it. It's these 7 different data which I chose. Now I can see all of the actual data for the pipes. The special thing about reviewing information is that we offer several selection methods. So the default one is select everything. So it's like the pipe vista or the structure vista, which always gives you everything. But we also have the possibility to narrow it down. So you can do it with a CAD selection. For example, so you just show a few of the selected entities. Then, for example, you can go in and select, certain pipes. So in this case, just these 4 pipes, or I can select, just specific structures. I can also do a selection by branches. So you can see a branch is automatically created, you know, between from start to an intersection or to a crossing or from an intersection to an end. So I just select the branch and get it. Then I can select an element sequence, so I can, you know, start somewhere and just, you know, go anywhere I want. And this element sequence, it works also on profiles, so I can just select like this. And also another option is to select the whole profile. Okay, so as soon as I hover over, I get the information of the profile. And when I get into the table, I hope you can see as I'm scrolling through the table, you see a little selection in the profile and also in the plan view. So if I zoom in, you will see it a little bit better. And if I want, I can also zoom to profile immediately and see what pipe this is, and also go back to the plan view and zoom to this pipe. And if I select multiple pipes, then, you know, of course, the zoom also works, and also this highlighting works for multiple objects as well. Okay, so this is sort of reviewing your data, but you can do much more than reviewing your data. You can actually edit your data. So let me just show you quickly. Let's go, for example, here, and I will select this branch. And so in this case, I want to change the names of the structures. So I can just select all the structures that I have and use a simple counter. And as you can see, the values changed in the table. Okay, and also you can see the labels in the drawing have changed because, you know, Civil 3D is dynamic and everything is changed immediately in all places, so to speak. Other than changing names, I can of course change, you know, swap parts, change the structure, or I can, let's say, I'll go to the profile, and for example, I can change a value. I can say that the sump depth is 0 instead of 0.5, and you see this immediately changes as well. Okay, and it works similar with pipes as well. So, for example, again, if I select this branch, so now again, I can go into edit value. Just let me select everything, go into edit value, and let's delete this counter, and we can do something a little bit specific. So I can rename my pipes according to the names of the structures. So on the left you see the old name, on the right you see the new name, and I just need to click OK, and you see the pipe names have been now renamed according to structures. And with swapping parts, it's the same. If I go into editing for a pipe, I can, you know, just select a different pipe, and it will change immediately. And by the way, a frequent question is what about the catalogs? So we don't bring any catalogs. This is just the default, something default that came with Civil 3D. So whatever you are using, whatever you have, you will you can use it in conjunction with Urbano Visio. And also a second question, which is often, is this program metric or is it imperial? Well, it's both. It doesn't care. Whatever version you run it on, it will work with the catalog, with the objects and elements you have. So it doesn't care about this stuff. So it just looks into the catalog which you currently use, and it works with this catalog. Okay. Let's move on. So as I said, in version Civil 3D 2017.1, Autodesk introduced a new data type, which is called property set data. And this data type is very interesting because it's not bound to a part list. Instead, it's bound to the drawing, and you can use it with labels directly with Civil 3D. And it automatically goes to an IFC export if you make an IFC export out of Civil 3D. So, for example, if you want to export your Civil 3D network to Navisworks. And this makes this data type very interesting, and so we also did a little work to improve the standard functionality. So in this case, I have some pipe data status and type. Okay, just very simple, defined to text type data. Okay, no need to change anything. And so let's go over here. And how do you see? How do I make you see this data? Well, I need to edit my configuration. Okay, because obviously it's not included. So in this case, in the end, I have the property set data, and here I have the pipe data, and I just need to bring them over to the right side. Okay, status and type. Okay, okay, and you see they appear immediately. Okay, so fine. What now? What can I do? Well, for example, I can select everything and draw a table. And you see in this table, okay, I have standard Civil 3D data. So things like names and inverts and lengths and slope. But I also have this property set data, and this is something you can't do with your standard Civil 3D. And another thing which is quite important for all of you that know this, this is actually an AutoCAD style table. It's not a Civil 3D style table. So you will recognize the ribbon up top. So you have all the editing possibilities of AutoCAD tables. You have the formulas and everything which is connected with AutoCAD tables. So basically, we create an AutoCAD table and put Civil 3D data into this table, and which is again something you cannot do with just your standard Civil 3D. Okay, and if I want to edit something, and for example, say not so good, so the values, of course, updated in Urbano Visio, but also you see they updated in the drawing, in the labels. But the interesting thing is they updated also in this table. So basically, it's a dynamic AutoCAD style table that displays Civil 3D data of all kinds. So standard, part list, property sets, custom data from part list, and so on. You can put everything inside. Okay, so that's one thing, and a second thing we can do is we can copy all these values and just quickly go over to Excel. and just paste them inside of an Excel sheet. So in other words, whatever you have in Urbano Visio, you can just select and copy over to an Excel sheet, and use to create a little report or data sheet of some kind, and so on. Okay, let me move over to this view. The last thing I want to show you is this IFC export. So this is all new stuff, basically, from some of the last versions of Civil 3D. So in this case, so this is a Civil 3D command which you also have. So I just give the project a name, and it will create an IFC style, IFC file, and so we're now just waiting for this to start. Okay, so this should be okay. So now we just created an IFC file. Okay, export completed, and Navisworks will just open in a second. Yeah. So basically, what we're going to do is just import this file into Navisworks to have a look. Okay, and everything is very dark. Okay, and so there you have it. This is the default import into Navisworks, and if I click on a pipe, you see this pipe data, status and type displayed, and here also what I changed not so good. You can see it here, but we can now do more with this. So if I go into the tools section of this property set manager, I have my pipe data, and I can just add a few additional data. So for example, network name, part name, and then for example, we can say slope. Okay, and we can say for example 3D length, because this is something you can't really calculate in Navisworks. And for example, we can add outer diameter. Okay, so again, we make a very simple configuration and just click on write. And what it does now, it copies the Civil 3D data to property set data, which again is this special data type I was telling you about. And if I just go over to manage, you see that besides this type and status, which I started with, we now have slope and outer diameter and all this other information, also part of this property set data. And okay, and now we need to do the export again. and we just make the export and say overwrite. And okay, just wait a bit until Civil 3D does it. So he's creating the IFC file again. Okay, and when we move to Navisworks, we just need to refresh. And now if I click on a pipe, you can see that the pipe data is now extended with auto diameter and slope and length and name and network name. So all these 5 data which I added in Civil 3D, so they are now displayed in Navisworks as well. And again, this is thanks to this new data type, this property set data.
Michael, do you mind if I just point out one additional thing?
Sure.
For anybody that works on projects where they're integrating Civil 3D data into a larger project, especially one that's run by an architect, right? And there are coordination meetings that that require the submission of Civil 3D object data in a Navisworks file format. What Michael has demonstrated gets us so much closer to the ability to mimic what architects who use Revit have been able to do for a long time, which is embed property data into their objects, so that as you're clashing, as you're building reports and doing coordination, it's a lot easier to identify what kind of elements you have, what properties are relevant to the types of data that are necessary to meet, what architects call an LOD, right, a level of detail or a level of development. Nothing like that has really existed in Civil 3D. And even though Autodesk introduced the ability to create property set data back in 2017, Urbano Visio makes the whole process way easier to just integrate that directly into your workflow. So just wanted to throw that out there. I hand it back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. So I couldn't have explained better.
No worries.
Okay, so there's of course a lot more we can do with this analysis tool, but we need to move on. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is a couple of tools in this profile tools section. So these are profiles all created with Civil 2D in the usual way. There's nothing special about them. And this is all fine. Sometimes you just wish you could draw by hand, manually something, change something which is, not so good. Now you can. You just start this command. You want a little drop, you want to change how this looks. Boom, no problem. Okay, you want a little help. For example, you can introduce some, guiding lines which help you in your work. And you see in the tooltip, okay, it gives you some information, so you can be much more effective. And as soon as you are finished, you can do something like this. Or if you want to use a fixed step, it's also an option. So for example, you can start from here, and when I zoom in, you see the program gives me exactly a 0.25%, gives me this fixed step. So I'm just moving in this inside of these possibilities. So if I want to have a fixed, for example, 2% slope here, and then add a little drop, and then perhaps again work with a 2% slope, it's okay. So it's quite easy, quite fast to do. And of course, if you need everything to be very precise, you can do that as well. So you will notice these two icons here. So if I click on this icon, For example, I can say, okay, I can set a specific pipe depth, for example, okay, and it will be exactly 1.5 below ground, okay, and so I can do this again, and you know, I can do this again. I can say, okay, in this case I want two below ground, okay, and then I can say, okay, no, that's too much, and for example, I can use this back arrow key and say, okay, no, it's going to be fine like this. Now you have like, okay, this, you know, this part is okay, but now we want to you know, really configure how this drop will look like. So for example, you can say I want a drop of 1. No, this, let's say, looks too much. 0.5. Okay, so you can really if you want to be precise, you can also be very, very precise. If you want just to quickly make some changes, you can do that as well. Then we have a second option, is when you don't, let's say when you're working really on pipe runs, and you can work really fast. So just select a pipe run, say I want a 2% slope on this pipe run. The program shows you how this will look, and you just click apply. Okay, and that's it. Or for example, you can do a selection like this, and then you can say, okay, I want to pick my elevation, okay, my starting elevation, and you pick it here, and you can also pick your ending elevation like this. You have the option change adjacent sections, okay, on or off. If I turn it off, the adjacent sections will not be changed, and if I turn it on, you see now these lines are drawn, so they will be changed. So you can do something like this, or for example, you can say, okay, I want 3% slope, but I also want a standard drop on every structure, 0.25. So the program shows you what a flat 3% slope would look like, and so this is this orange line. And what a 3% slope with a 0.25 drop would look, you know, look like in the end. And you just click apply, and you get your default slope with a default drop right there in the profile view. Okay. And the important thing to understand is this is all behind the scenes. It's all Civil 3D functions. There's nothing funny. There's nothing uncompatible. So you can, you know, save now and give this to a colleague who doesn't have Urbano Visio, and they will be perfectly fine to just continue working with the usual Civil 3D tools. Okay. And the last thing about the profiles I want to show you. So I have a very, very simple pipe run here on a very steep section, very steep profile, and so I'll just go into this edit structures command, and it's quite simple. So you know, there are some structures which I want to move, and I just, you know, click on them and go ahead and move them, and I can move them, for example, also for a specific distance. So for example, with the tab key, I can, you know, move left and right, and I can say, for example, I want it to be exactly 50 meters or 50 feet from the structure on the left, and it will draw exactly like this. The second thing which we can do is we can insert new structures. So, you know, I just click any point that I want, and you know, just insert structures. So, okay, quite easy. And of course, delete is also, do I want to delete? Yes, and there it goes. So it's quite simple, and in connection with the first tool, so I could just very quickly do a little improval on the default profile, just something like this. Okay, so it's not so deep. So this is a very simple tool that you can use, to fix some stuff in your life. Okay. Okay, so we can also do a very simple trench calculation, and I will just show you what we mean by trench. Okay, so this is like a standard trench, and basically it's made of several components. So there's a bedding, pipe, then a filling zone and another filling zone, and you will notice that the ground is not, the pipe cover is not always the same height. The ground moves, for example, and we take these points where there is a change in the distance between the ground and the pipe, and we make sections in these points. So in this case, the sections would look something like this, and we calculate each of those sections, and from those sections we then we extend them, and we make the trench calculation, the trench volume. And also, second thing we can do is we can have several zones in this trench. So, for example, you could have a soil that is really easy to dig, and this would be zone 1, and a zone which is really difficult to dig, and this would be zone 2. So you can have multiple zones. Okay, so how does this look in the software? Again, we call the trench, we call the property set data to the rescue. So in this case, we automatically determine certain property set data, so volumes of concrete bed and ground fill zone, pipe volume, and so on and so on. And okay, I can also use this, and let's start this trench calculator. And so you start with a simple configuration. So we can actually also make a new one. So we can, we can call it demo, and you can determine the sides by angles or by ratio, for example 1 to 2. And for this right slope as well. And then you can say, okay, I want to work with a set width, or I want to calculate with the width, and then there's a distance from the offset from the left side and from the right side, and then you determine the bedding and so on. So, for example, you need to also have some height for the bedding, of course. And so on. So it's a simple trench for one pipe. It's a very simple thing, okay? And if you want to calculate it, it's quite simple. You just select the pipe network, you select the surface. If you have multiple surfaces, you select the configuration. You can write to text file or to Excel file. In this case, I don't have a concrete bed, so I will not use it. And you have several methods of selection. I will just select everything and run the calculation and save it. Okay, so now it creates an Excel file. And when I open the report, so it looks something like this. So you have all of your values calculated. So you have the station name, starting station, ending station. So it ends at this characteristic point where there's a change in the difference of the ground and the pipes. And you have the excavation volume and the ground volume and sand filling zone and pipe and so on. So and this calculation is done by branches, and in the end you have a total calculation. And the same goes for pipes. So you have all the pipes sorted by pipe diameters, and you have their lengths. Okay. And in this case, it's metric, but it's again, as I said, quite irrelevant. It can be anything. Okay. So the next thing we can do is we can look at it also in this table and see all the different values. Okay. And if we start, we can do this again. So, for example, now we can make some zones. So from 0 to 2 meters, and second zone from 2 meters to 10 meters. Okay, and now you see the program automatically fills additional calculations. So for this zone, so I just need to rerun the calculation. Okay. Okay, and I can I can close this. And now when I look at my table, I see all of the data also in this table. And what is interesting is also I can use now this information to make some labels. So I'll just select everything. Okay. And when I zoom in, you can see that all of this calculation information is now in the labels. Okay. So we are now already close to the end. So I just want to show you a couple more features. So we have something that we call interactive editor. So you can see when I move my my pointer, that when I hover over a pipe or a structure, a different set of icons appears. And so these are all editing options. So how this works? So first of all, in this interface, I can determine, the behavior of these tools. So will the alignment be automatically changed or not? What configuration am I using for the tooltip? So I can, choose this. How will, what will be the behavior when I insert a new node and a new structure and things like this. So what can I do? For example, I can go in and I can change the pipe diameter, for example. This is one thing I can do. Then I can go in and also I can change the cover, for example, and just watch the below the profile, so you see it update automatically. So that's Civil 3D again, everything refreshes automatically. Then, for example, I can go in and I can move a node just freely. I can move it, anywhere, and you can see also the in the profile how the the profile changes. This is because we also automatically move the alignment. So there's no need to do it separately. If you don't want it this way, you can also set this value to false. Okay, and I can insert a new structure, and again I can use my tab keys to determine precisely, you know, the distance between two structures. And when I click on this structure, now this tooltip becomes alive and I can actually use it for editing. So if I don't want this name, I want a different name, I can just go in and change it and it will change directly. And also I can use this tool in the profile. So for example, I can, you know, just move this structure, or I can change it, of course, for a different type, or I can delete it completely and the program will update. So there's, of course, additional stuff you can do, but that's, I think you get a good idea about, you know, the editing possibilities for this tool. Okay, and in the end, I just want to show you very briefly an example. As I said in the beginning, you often have this situation where the pipe rules are just not set correctly. Okay, so in this example, structures are okay, but as you can see, the status on the pipes is not okay. So the rules are not observed. Okay, and so now you would have to go in and change all the rules, and this can take some time. So we have a little tool here, which makes life easier. So just select the network type. Again, selection. In this case, I want to select everything. Again, this is something that in Civil 3D you just cannot do. You always need to go part by part. I have all my rules here. I will choose different rules for the pipes. For the structures, we've seen the rules are okay. So there's no need to change anything. And now the program works, and I hope you actually see it as well in the lower left part of your screen. So Civil 3D is working. Again, as I said earlier, these are all Civil 3D functions. It's just our interface is different, and it enables some good productivity gains. So we waited, you know, 20 seconds, and all the rules for all the network are applied. As you can see here in the profiles, they are now drawn, and also here in this 3D view, everything is now connected nicely, working as it should. And also, if I open this pipe vista, now you can see the pipe rules. Everything works as it should.